Maybe see it. Pastor's on a trip. I know last time I was up here, I was kind of harsh, so I'm going to tell y'all right now, just relax. Be kind of easy on y'all today. We're going to have some fun. In fact, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about tools. And for the ladies, we're going to talk about shoes. How's that? All right? I want y'all to try to figure out what I'm talking about. It won't take but a minute. But talking about sports, I was thinking about baseball, and I'm not a baseball player, but I've watched a little bit of baseball, and I enjoy watching it. And when the outfielder is going after that long fly ball, and it's like way over here, and he's over there, and he goes running full speed, and don't worry, I'm not going to dive across the stage and jump up on the field like Patrick did last week, but he dives out with that glove, and he reaches out, and he hits the ground, and the ball bounces and keeps going. He didn't catch it. You're watching the game, the first thing you're thinking is what? Get up. Go get the ball, right? That's important. You got to have that ball. All right? That's one of the plays in baseball that is kind of like you see the play and you got to get back up. All right? And football, I love pro football. Won't go into teams, won't get nobody mad at me. But one of the plays in football that's in pro football that's not in college level football is if the guy catches the ball and makes that dynamic catch and he hits the ground, if nobody touches him, first thing you think is what? Get back up. No, because nobody touches you. You're not down. You can still go, right? So take back off. All right? Now we're going to get to what we're talking about here in boxing. Boxing, it's very important to stay on your feet. All right? When I think about boxing, I think about Rocky. And there is no greater Rocky to me than Rocky IV. Because Rocky IV, he was up against an enormous opponent. He was, if you look at it, you analyze, think about the movie, it was America against Russia, right? All right? Well, I think about Israel against the Philistines, I think of David and Goliath. And when you looked at Rocky in the ring with that big Russian, it was a David and Goliath story. I mean, that Russian would hit him and he would go flying across the ring and hit the ground. And I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, I didn't want to see him get back up because he was going to get killed. But everybody was, you know, when Rocky was laying there and he's like all busted up. But he kept coming back up. And he kept coming on because we wanted to see him win. It was important. This wasn't like Rocky I where he lost. He had to win. It was America against Russia. So we're all watching the movie and we're all going, get up, get up. And he kept getting up. And the momentum changed. We know that Rocky won. All right. Now, why am I talking about sports? Because when you fall, you got to get back up. If you go into running a race, you know, and you're heading toward the finish line. You've seen people on those marathons, and they fall down. You want them to get back up. They got to finish the race, right? There are times we fall. There are times all of us fall. And you got to get back up. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, we talked about in the Bible, and I love this Bible. I love the Old Testament because the history, it's a history with a twist. Because it has meaning to it. You know, we look at U.S. history or world history today, you know, there's a lot of things that we learn from it. But, and we can pull, you know, it's important to know history so that we don't repeat itself. But the Bible, you don't just want to not repeat mistakes people made, but you realize that put together so beautifully, we learn a life point from each and every story in the Bible. They're there for a reason. The saints aren't saints because they're perfect. Saints are who they are because of forgiveness. Right? It says in Proverbs 24:16. I got that one up there. For a just man falls 7 times and rise up again. But the wicked shall fall into mischief. You know, we got to keep getting back up. We're going to go right into Job. if you bear with me, I'm not going to make you turn to Job just yet. We're going to talk about Job briefly. What we're going to do is a round robin of some of the saints in the Bible, okay? Just to give you an idea of how I'm going to do this today. I'm going to give you some of the different stories. It's not all of them. There are some great stories that I ain't going to mention today about people that have fallen that got back up, all right? When you look at the life of Job, all right? You read in Job chapter 1 right away, it talks about how he was a perfect man. He was a godly man, you know? He followed the man. He did what was right. Good man. He didn't ask for all that trouble. But look what happened to Job. Job lost his wealth. It said that I was reading the story, and it was over 11,000 animals, camels and sheep and donkeys, and all that a wealthy man would own in that day and time. 11,000 some animals dead, gone. All his wealth gone. He lost his health. Whole body covered in boils. Just covered in boils. I mean, you know, he covered himself with ashes. And it just nothing would stop the pain from the boils and stuff. But the one that got me the most was he lost his children. 7 sons, 3 daughters. Gone. He was down. He's down. I mean, and yet, he never stopped worshiping God. He never stopped looking to God because he knew that's all I got. That's what I got to have. And yet, we look at how God blessed the life of Job. You know, I don't know if y'all know, I know y'all probably told y'all, Job's the oldest book in the Bible. From what we understand historically, Job was the first book written. But what a famous book, what a famous man. I mean, I got a place on my UPS route I deliver to. It's called Job's Hill, and some people say Job's Hill, but I call it Job's Hill because I always think of Job, J-O-B. But what a legacy that man left behind. He never turned his back to God. And he come back up out of that. You know, he got up off. What did he do? It said that he prayed to God. He prayed, he knelt, he prayed, and he come back up. And what did God do? God blessed him with more and more. And you know, he came out of it, and it's neat to see how sometimes it's not always our fault. You know, sometimes things happen, and it's not our fault. But now let's look at Elijah, the book of Elijah, and in 1 Kings. And if you don't know all these stories, fact check me. Come back and look them up, please, because they're in there. I'm not going to read the whole story, but I love the story of Elijah. There's several, but the one I like where he took on the prophets of Baal. 450 prophets of Baal. They all wanted to prove God wrong, and he was there to prove him right. And they built that sacrifice up on that altar, and he let the prophets of Baal start. And they put the old carcass of that bull up on top of there, and all they had to do was make fire, burn the sacrifice, and they danced and they chanted and they tore and cut themselves and did anything to get Baal to send fire. Nothing happened. I just remember when Elijah kind of laughed and said, "Come on, where's your fire?" You know, he picked at him and stuff. But then when it was finally Elijah's turn, he got the water out. We're talking about building fire, but he got water out, poured it all over everything. It said it filled up the ditches, and then he sent fire. He prayed to God, and God sent the fire, and the fire came down out of the sky and burned up the offering and licked up every drop of the water, and all the 450 of Baal's prophets were killed. They didn't produce. All right. Right after that, Elijah goes off by himself. Of course, word spread. What happened? The king found out. The king of Syria, which was King Ahab, and Jezebel, if you remember. And Jezebel sent word back that she wanted Elijah killed. Elijah just killed 450 prophets. And all of a sudden, he got scared. And he went off by himself into the wilderness. And he got on the ground and cried and pouted and said, "I just wish I was dead. I mean, I'm here by myself. I'm all alone." After he just did something wonderful for God. And he followed, and then he says he further went on into a cave, and the angel of the Lord, after the angel of the Lord fed him out in the wilderness, the angel of the Lord followed him and went out into a cave. Y'all fact check me if you want. I love these stories. But, I may not ever be a pastor, but I hope, I don't know, maybe I should have been a history teacher because I have a passion about history and I love it. But the angel of the Lord come into the cave and said, "What are you doing in the cave?" And he says, "I'm all alone. I'm scared." Anybody ever get scared when things happen and things are bad? Even Elijah, with the mighty power that he had straight from the Lord, he was at a weak moment in his life. And he was scared. Jezebel's going to come. She's going to kill me. And the angel would rise up. Stay out of this game. Go do your job. You're here for a reason. You're sent by me. God has sent you to do some things. And the rest of the story, Elijah went out of that cave. Elijah went, he told, not only did he face his fear, but he told King Ahab and Jezebel how they were going to die. Mm-hmm. Ahab had just got done killing somebody for no reason other than to take over their field. He killed a poor man that wouldn't sell him his field. And that's when Elijah stepped in when King Ahab was looking over his new field that he just unjustly got. And he went to him and he said, "You're going to die. Not only are you going to die, but the same dogs that licked up the blood from Naaman, the same dogs that licked up the blood from Naaman are going to lick up your blood. And furthermore, not only is your wife going to die, but the dogs will destroy her body to the point there won't be nothing left for her, for y'all to bury." Now that's boldness right there. That's boldness. Now, where was that guy in the desert? He didn't stay down. See, he got back up. All right. Let's move on to David. See, each one was a different reason. When you look at the life of David, a man after God's own heart, he took over as king. He killed the giant. He did some wonderful things. We all know the stories of what David did. He killed the lion. He killed the bear. He slept with his friend's wife. And then he had his friend killed so that he could make it right. And he didn't make it. David fell into sin. He fell off the wagon. And we learn later in life, David suffered from that sin. The sin has a price, doesn't it? Amen. We can do something really stupid. And we can pray and ask God to forgive us, but sometimes we still pay the penalty for sin. David paid the penalty. David watched his own son, or found out, they didn't watch, but he found out about his own son raping his own daughter. And then he had to find out that another son killed that son. David, you read in Psalms, some of those Psalms, just, if you realize the background of what David went through, the hurt, the sorrow, the shame that he fought, and it's pretty sad. It was a tough time in David's life. When you get to Psalms 40, Psalms 40. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined unto me. He heard my cry. He brought me up also out of the horrible pit, out of the miry clay. And he set my feet upon a rock. He established my goings. David fell. David sinned. He went down in the pit. He couldn't get out of it on his own. He cried out to God. God brought him back up out of that pit. We all know the rest of the story. Through the line of David, our Savior, Jesus, came through the line of David. Jesus, our son of David. It says in the Bible over and over. And here's another one. Talking about the saints. I love this story as well. Moses. We're going to go back a little bit to Moses. Because Moses brought the people out of the desert, right? Moses was the leader of the children of Israel. He was known kind of like the one that did so much with the Israelites. But there was a battle that Israel had to fight. And it was another one of those battles that, once again, Israel was outnumbered. If you look at today's time, it isn't any different. Israel's still outnumbered. But they're not outnumbered when you think they've got God on their side. And in this battle, Moses knew he needed God on his side. So when God told Moses, and you can look in Exodus, chapter 17, 11, and 12. It came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. The deal was, God told Israel, said, as long as you stand out on that rock in front of those people and you hold up your hands, you're going to be winning that battle. And Joshua led the people down into the battle. So he was down there doing all the fighting, and all he had to do was look up on the hill, and there was Moses. He wasn't fighting back. He wasn't giving directions. Just hold his hands up. It was God doing the battle. And the Israelites were winning. But how long can you stand with your hands up, right? Get tiring after a while. Moses was old. Moses kept his hands out. And when they started to fall, the enemy would start to prevail. And it says that Moses' hands were heavy. And they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the one on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So all day long that battle went on. Moses had some friends with him, didn't he? Amen. That's the part I wanted to bring out. Moses had friends hold him up. Amen. You know, right now, not all of y'all are going through a battle right now where you feel like you're down in the pit, where you feel like you've been knocked down. That's when you need to be looking for your brothers and sisters to help them up. Because there will be a time they're going to be there to help you up. Am I right? You understand what I'm saying now? So, I was thinking last week, the pastor, he really got wound up for a minute. He hadn't seen anybody jump up on the pew in a while. So, I'm not a jumper, or I can't jump. I have no abilities to jump. But, just for comedy's sake, I was just thinking maybe y'all could help me finish this sentence, and we'll relate this to the story. So, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Exactly. How many Christians walk around and say, I've fallen and I can't get up? In their minds, they don't think they can get up. I had to do that. Sorry. I'm picking up the passage there a little bit. All right. Peter. We're going to go to the New Testament now. Peter. You know how Peter fell in the water when he was walking across because he took his eyes off Christ, right? All right. But when I think about Peter and when he fell, I think about him denying Christ. I think about how God told him. You know, sometimes if a preacher can stand up here and say, if you go to the bars on the weekend and you keep drinking, you're going to find yourself in trouble. If you keep looking at those ladies, your mind's going to be wandering, and you're going to get yourself in trouble. The preacher can stand up here and preach a lot of things from the pulpit. And almost sometimes he can predict, because you got a good-sized crowd, people are going to go out and they're not going to listen, and they're going to do it anyway, right? All right? You know, no matter how many times you come to Sunday school and hear it, sometimes people still do the wrong thing. You know, Peter heard straight from God. Peter, by the time the cock crows twice, you're going to deny me 3 times. You know, in Luke 22, verse 61, 62, and I don't even have that slide up, but I can remember because it said that when Peter heard the cock crow twice, he turned and Jesus looked at him. God, man, can you imagine how bad it just hit and hurt because he shamed God. He shamed his master, his Lord. And the hurt, I mean, a lot of people, they kind of hurt and they just know they really messed up. Don't know how to deal with it, and it just you know what? In Acts 2, verse 41, if you read the story of the day of Pentecost, you find that Peter preached a sermon. Preached a sermon and had 3,000 people saved. 3,000 people. He didn't stay down, did he? He got back up and kept going, and look how God used him. You know, just mind-boggling. And the last of the people I want to talk about, about Jesus, because, like I said, there's different reasons why people go down and they fall. I can remember when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He fell on his knees before his Father. He said, Lord, if you will, take this cup. Jesus, God said, no. It's your cup up there. There's nobody else to take the place. Nobody else to do it. Jesus got back up, praise God. Got back up out of that garden, he went and did what he had to do. You know, thank God he didn't stay down. We know it was one more time he went down, right? When he went down, he went in the grave for us. He went in the grave for us. You know, like it or not, whether you wanted him to, whether whatever reason, Jesus died on that cross and gave up his life for you. Death didn't keep him down. Come back up out of that grave. You know, he's still alive today. All right, tools. I like tools. I don't always use the proper tools to fix things. I usually use the most convenient tool. And I'm not the only one I know. How many of y'all have used something other than a hammer to nail something? Come on, please show me. All right, see, I'm not the only one. I know. I go in the kitchen and look for that meat cleaver if I can't have it. I don't have to go all the way out to the garage. Use it sideways. Use a meat cleaver, use it sideways. It feels better when you hit your finger. I've done that too. But God gives us the tools we need. God gives us the tools to get out of this hole. He gives us a ladder, he gives us whatever. And let me explain what I'm saying. How about wisdom? You're facing a big decision. You know, job, family, all the different big things that hit us. You know, he gives us the wisdom we need. We pray to him, we ask him, you know, using prayer, willpower. Willpower is another tool we have. You know, break that habit. You know, I've had habits in my life that I knew I needed to break. I knew God was calling on me to break. And they weren't easy. But daily prayer, facing it, dealing with it, not lightening up, not backing off, you can break those things. You really can. I stand here and I testify to you, I'm telling you, there is no sin that you can't get out of. Extra faith. Trust. Those are for those impossible situations. Just those moments. You know, I lost a brother this past week in Highland County. Good man. 65 years old. Better health than I am, I bet. Strong. He was a logger. He was a tough man. He was, every time you see him, a smile on his face. Lynn Rexroad was his name, and he owned a store. And every day I'd go into that store, I'd see him. He had a smile on his face, and he was quick to talk about the Lord. And a logging accident happened this week. He was gone real quick. We don't know what amount of time we have on this earth, but what a witness he left behind. And you know, the way things happen, we're not going to have above my pay grade. But those impossible situations, I know and I have the faith. Glenn's in heaven, I'm going to see him again. His family's going to see him again. And I love that. I trust him. Isaiah 40, verse 30 and 31. Even the youth shall faint and be weary. Can I get an amen? Amen. Brother Zach had a rough week last week, didn't he? And the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles, and they shall run and not weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Friends, we talked about how Moses' friends lifted him up. Ecclesiastes 4. Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 and 10. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone. When you want to accomplish a task, you know that a lot of the times it's so much easier to have somebody with you. You know, I had to work on a stove the other day by myself, and it was like I needed 4 hands. You know, I just didn't seem to want to be able to do it all with just my 2 hands. But there's a lot of jobs that we do that we need extra hands with us. But there's a lot of things in this life that you need to quit going alone. You know, it's okay to have a Christian sister and a Christian brother to talk to. It's important to have somebody to talk to. You know, you keep trying to ride it alone. The day that fall, it says, "But woe to him that is alone when he falls, for he hath not another to help him up." That's what the Bible's talking about. I said I was going to talk about shoes, didn't I? I had to add that. Sports and football. Got my hair cut this week. Went to a barbershop. Well, it wasn't a barbershop. It was one of those men and women's shops. What do you call them? Beauty. It wasn't a beauty parlor, I promise you. But I will say it was 4. It didn't help. There was 4 ladies in there. And no offense, ladies, but I don't know, these girls were quite chatty, and I just wanted to get a haircut and get out and get going because I was in the middle of my work day. And they were talking 90 miles an hour, and most of the conversation was about how one of them had a new pair of shoes. Guys, here's my tip of the week. So say something about shoes. If your lady wants a pair of shoes, go buy her a pair of shoes. Take her and buy her. Don't pick them yourself. You'll never pick the right pair. Go with her and get her a pair of shoes this week. That's my tip of the week. All right, I said I was going to talk about shoes. All right. Believe it or not, I'm almost done. Told y'all it wasn't going to be hard on you. I just wanted to lift you up this week. I wanted you to realize that I've seen, you know, I'm not the pastor. I fall. I mean, our pastor can fall. But I've, throughout my Christian life, made a lot of stupid mistakes. And I have fallen off the wagon a few times and made bad decisions. I didn't stay there. I'm not going to stay there. And I don't want to see you guys stay down here. And I know there are things that happen beyond your control. There are times you get yourself into it, and you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we ask for everything we get. Sometimes we don't. We look at Job, we know he did. We look at David, we know he did. You know, we know Elijah. He didn't have any good reason to, but he still did. We get down sometimes. Don't stay down. Look around you, find a brother, and lift him up. Story. It's about a farmer and a donkey. It's an old donkey. And the farmer seen that the donkey had fallen down in the dried up old well. Well, he didn't know how to get the donkey out of the well, so he called upon his neighbors. They came together and looked over this well and looked down in that hole and seen that donkey, and there wasn't no way they were going to get him out. They couldn't figure out a good way to get the donkey. So they decided, well, the old well needs to be filled up so nothing else can go down in the hole anyway, so let's just go ahead and bury the donkey where he's at. So they started shoveling dirt down the hole. And as it goes, the donkey screamed and bayed and yelled, and the old farmer felt pretty bad about it. But as he looked down in the hole one last time, the donkey had quit yelling. And he looked down in that hole, thinking the donkey was buried and covered up. He was amazed what he saw. Every time somebody shoveled a shovel full of dirt down on top of that donkey, he shook it off his back and stepped up. And as that hole filled up, he stepped up out of it. because he kept shaking it off. We got to keep shaking it off, people. You know, there's a lot happening in this world. Don't stay down. It's our job as Christians to be the light of the world. You can't be the light of the world if you're down. If you're down in the dumps all the time and you're pouting, woe is me, it ain't working. You can't stay down. You've got to prove and show the ones around you, this ain't going to keep me down. This is not going to keep me down. You know, I wanted to say that I've read several scriptures to y'all. Matthew 11:28. This is the last scripture I'm going to read. I wanted to say the other week when I was talking about how important it is to read your Bible. Someone told me that if you ever go to an author's book signing, if you ever go to see an author and get him to sign the book, if you're walking up in that line, the best thing you can tell that author, I read your book. I get to heaven, I want to be able to tell God, I read your book. Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.